Christopher Bell wins $1 million. Was the All-Star race a good race? Joey Logano's upset. And hey, should North Wilkesboro have a points-paying race? Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. Christopher Bell wins $1 million. Joey Logano's upset over absolutely nothing. Michael Waltrip did a kooky Michael Waltrip thing. North Wilkesboro actually not bad. And hey, why wasn't this race on Saturday night? Well, it's because Saturday night's a ratings dump. Nobody wants to put anything on Saturday night because nobody watches. You put it on Sunday night in prime time. More people in front of their TV because they got to go to work on Monday. More people watch. That's why this race started at 8:14 Eastern time. The race is only an hour and 37 minutes long, so you could still be in bed by 10:30 for the most part. So I know some people are upset about it. I'm not going to get worked up over it. But from the start, was this a good race? Was this All-Star race a good race? I'm going to give it an 82. On TikTok, I gave it the same number on Sunday night, and I actually think that this was a really enjoyable NASCAR All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. Certainly better than the previous two versions of it. The asphalt, the racetrack's aging pretty well, considering it's only the second year of a repave there, and there's passing for the lead, difficult. I will say 18 lead changes. That's more than the last two races at North Wilkesboro combined, so that's a good call there. Passing the leader is difficult. I'm not going to lie about that. Absolutely difficult. Passing back in the field can absolutely be done. This track got progressive banking a little bit, makes passing difficult at times, but can certainly be done, especially with varying different tire strategies, which made this race pretty entertaining. But let's recap how Christopher Bell got to victory lane. The race started off with former Penske teammates Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano racing side by side pretty respectfully. Brad ends up taking the lead. He was carrying those East Carolina colors, and hey, maybe somebody was going to finally win with East Carolina colors on him, but turns out it wasn't going to be Brad on Sunday. We'll get to that in a moment there. Those two trading the lead back, or not trading the lead back and forth, but rather racing side by side. Brad ends up retaining the lead. It felt like if Logano could get out front early on there, he would have really dominated this race. Still at 139 of the 250 laps on Sunday night. But we got our first caution, lap 57. Daniel Suarez blows a right front, goes up into the wall. And I can only imagine his wife super upset with Goodyear. Can't wait to hear her thoughts on NASCAR Full Speed Season 3 because I'm sure she's going to have some strong words for them the same way she has strong words for Trackhouse as well, which is kind of a wild thing to put on recorded video. But hey, whatever. I'm not here to judge about that. Then on the restart, we had Brad Keselowski, William Byron, Kyle Busch racing three wide, highly entertaining. And at one point I was like, hey, passing the leaders really hard. If all the leaders are three wide, can anybody actually pass one another? Turns out they can. William Byron eventually took the lead, and then Joey Logano took the lead from there. Byron only had 2 tires. Logano had 4. And that's what I said. Tire strategy was pretty interesting. Tire strategy made this race probably better than it was, but that's a good thing. We need tire strategy. We need tire fall off. Goodyear brought their softest tire to the race, and it worked for the most part here. Maybe even laid down too much rubber because Ryan Preece in the open couldn't see the Choose V, drove straight over it. Keep in mind, everybody else saw it. I'll say that. Everybody else saw the Choose V. He didn't. Drove over it, got penalized, sent to the back. Probably should have transferred into the All-Star race. That's how well he was running between the Open and the All-Star race. NASCAR repainted the V. And from track level, I can get what Ryan Preece is saying. It was very difficult to see it, but still every other driver saw it there as well. But that's a whole different story. Then on lap 113, Ross Chastain gets into it with Austin Cindric. Cindric pushed up the track, had Alex Bowman to the inside of him there as well. He goes up, puts Chastain on the wall. Chastain's got some pretty decent damage to the car, still rebounds to have a top 3 finish, I believe is what it was for him. So overall, pretty good run for them. Austin Cindric, though, in driver introductions, got about the same reception that you and I would. Nothing. Just nothing for Cindric at all. And hey, he's a 3-time Cup Series winner. He's a nice enough guy for the most part, I think. I'm not really sure, but just does not resonate with the fans whatsoever because everybody there was like, all right, who's next? Because they just did not care whatsoever. Then on lap 176, Brad Keselowski's terrible season, his season from hell, yeah, it's going to continue because he absolutely pounds the outside wall with the right side. Just got in there, got loose, hits the wall. Torres, number 6, Roush Fenway, Keselowski, Ford Mustang, all up. Like I said, he's carrying ECU colors, and much like every ECU sports season, there was nothing memorable to take home from this one because Brad Keselowski ends up not finishing the race. Bad result for him. Then we, of course, have this big topic of the promoter's caution. When's the promoter's caution going to come out? When's Marcus Smith going to throw this? Marcus Smith sent Michael Waltrip up into the flag stand to throw the promoter's caution, and they have to throw it before lap 220. And we're waiting around for it, and Fox is doing this double box, and they're watching Michael, and he's counting down to the fans behind him. He's holding up a 5, a 4, 3, a 2, you get it, 1, when he's going to throw the caution. And while they're doing all of this, they completely miss Kyle Larson in third place, hit the wall, and basically doom his entire race from there because we're watching Michael. Then they finally throw the caution, and Michael's waving the caution flag, and then he proceeds to drop the caution flag. That kooky Michael Waltrip, just so quirky and unique and weird and doing funny things all the time, like his grid walk. And they dropped a taco in Denny's car that one time. You guys remember? Yeah, we get it. The promoter's caution. Personally, I don't like promoters' cautions. I would rather just see a race play out naturally. For an all-star race, a race that does not matter for points, I'm not going to get worked up over this. Now, of course, if it becomes like a mainstay of actual points races, I'll probably be pretty annoyed by that. But for this, I'm not going to get that worked up over it. Ultimately, it affected the outcome of this race massively. But yeah, it just annoyed me the way that Fox presented it. They missed actual on-track action, and then we just had the Michael Waltrip show from there. Michael, nice guy, but I think the act, in a sense, has gotten pretty exhausting. So then they have the opportunity to pit. Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Carson Hocevar, Harrison Burton, they stay out. They all stay out on the racetrack. Everybody else behind them pits. Like, all right, this is actually kind of an interesting strategy here. Obviously, having the lead, getting that clean air is super beneficial. You're going to be able to stay out front. That's what the 22 team was banking on. And ultimately, it's Christopher Bell that finally gets up to the 22 car, passes him, basically dives the corner on him, and then slides him off the racetrack. Made a little bit of contact, but they both kept racing. Wasn't even close to being the most egregious thing we saw at North Wilkesboro. Not even in like the top 10 most egregious things we saw at North Wilkesboro. If you watch that modified race before the All-Star race, there's 20 examples of more egregious types of racing and passing in that race than we saw in the Cup race. And Logano was just absolutely incensed by it. And honestly, like, Christopher Bell went in there with more aggression than I think you've seen from a preacher at a tent revival. That's the most aggression I've ever seen out of Christopher Bell for the most part. And he gets up there, Logano, pissed off, just absolutely furious about it. And after the race, he was mad about the promoter's caution. He was mad about the way Christopher Bell raced him, said he was going to spin if he got back to him, and he's going to race him that way going forward. And we'll get to that in a different segment. But Bell goes on to win the race, captures $1 million. Clearly, Logano's not buying him cheer wine anytime soon. Those two just don't seem to see eye to eye. Bell not really understanding what he did wrong there, considering we've seen Logano do other things, but we'll talk about it in a minute. Bell wins $1 million, first All-Star race for Toyota since 2017. Yeah, he had the best car. Well, second best car all night. He and Logano. It was like 1-2 between those two as well. Bell kind of kept taking tires and getting back in the field a little bit. And ultimately, it was always going to come down to the 20 or the 22. And the 22 of Logano shouldn't be mad at Christopher Bell. He should be mad at his team for not pitting him for tires. If they pit him for tires, he wins this race easily. And instead, they decide to stay out when they didn't have to. They weren't in a spot of desperation. They were in a spot of advantage. Everybody else is coming to take tires. And yeah, you can say, hey, if the leader pits, other people would have stayed out. And that's certainly maybe true in a sense, but you would rather be on offense than on defense, and they were having to play defense there against the cars that were on offense. So yeah, Logano should just be mad at his team, not mad at anybody else there. Bell wins the race. Obvious 3 points wins this year. Now he has an all-star win. He's heading back to the Coke 600 next week, a race that he won last year. Rain shortened, humidity shortened at that. We'll see what he can do, but hey, got a lot of momentum still this year, and he's not going anywhere. Like, he's still hanging around. It kind of, got quiet. He's still really consistent, still putting in good runs, just hasn't won since his, three-peat in a row there. Now he gets back to victory lane. Clearly, it doesn't count for points, but still good for him. So let's talk about Joey Logano, because he was obviously upset with Christopher Bell when, again, like I said, he should have been upset at his own team. But he said if he would have gotten back to Christopher Bell, he would have gone around, that being Bell, because he didn't like the way that he raced. His quote was, if I could have gotten back to him, he was going around after a move like that. Call me crazy, but I don't think the move that Bell did was egregious at all. That was a very standard short track racing move. We all talk about how we want short track racing. We want bumping and banging. That's just good old-fashioned short track racing. That's not Carson Hocevar hooking a guy and putting him in the wall. That is just going into the corner and just using up the guy on the outside, but you both continue on, just swap positions. Didn't end the 22's day, kept going. Pretty simple like that. Joey talks like he's never raced people poorly in his entire life, and his moral compass when it comes to driving on the racetrack looks like a compass in loss. It's just spinning in all directions, and whatever direction he's feeling that day is the direction that he's going to go with it. He's the ultimate do as I say, not as I do type of guy. Good for me, bad for you. That's Joey Logano, because what Christopher Bell did was not bad at all. And Bell, after the race, was like shocked. He's like, I honestly don't know why Joey feels like that, because they didn't race. He didn't think he raced him poorly at all. And Logano says that he's going to race Bell the same way going forward. And I'm so confused by this. It's like when he got into the back of William Byron at Darlington a couple years ago, and he was mad at Byron for putting him in the wall. And it's like, buddy, this is Darlington. Corner exit narrows up. Everybody pushes up on corner exit. He didn't put you in the wall on purpose. Like, it's just a racing incident. And then he drives down into the corner from 4 car lengths back and just pounds the 24 and puts him into the wall. And it's like, I just don't understand where Joey Logano is coming from here. He talks all the time about how when he puts a helmet on, he's selfish. Maybe when he puts a helmet on, he loses half of his brain too, because he just seemingly comes out of these races sometimes with these thoughts and these takes and these, grievances where it's just like, I don't think anybody else sees it this way at all. Like when he moved Martin Truex Jr. out of the way to win at Martinsville, was he upset about that? No, he wasn't. When he moved Matt Kenseth out of the way at Kansas and spun him out, when Kenseth junks him at Martinsville, he's like, oh, it's a chicken shit move. I can't believe you would do something like that. And it's like, buddy, you ended his race when he had a chance to win at Kansas. What are you talking about here? Yeah, like I said, ultimate do as I say, not as I do type of guy. I 100% think that the 22 is probably going to move the 20 at some point this year. And it's going to be in the most ridiculous spot. And then he's going to get out and justify it with this. And everybody's going to be like, yeah, dude, it really wasn't that serious. And now you've taken it to a level where now it's just embarrassing for you. And I was embarrassed for Logano for that reason. And then he gets out of the car after the race as well. And he's talking about how much he hated the promoter's caution and how he didn't like what Marcus Smith did. Basically sounded like he want to fight Michael Waltrip because that promoter's caution came out. And he's like, obviously I'm on the receiving end of it. You know, I'm the one that, was affected by it. And then he goes, I don't like this gimmicky stuff, which, yeah, I think there's a lot of things to take away from this. And I think everybody comes back to the fact that Logano is upset with the wrong people. He should be upset with his team. He should not be upset with Christopher Bell. Like, put new tires on if you don't want to get raced like that so you can drive away from him. Yeah, he had the best car again on Saturday night or Sunday night. Should have won just like he did last year, but that's not the cards that he was dealt. And he could have really played with house money, but decided not to. So, Joey Logano, mad at absolutely nothing. And the last topic of the day is, should North Wilkesboro get a points-paying date? Now, obviously, this is the third year in a row that they've had the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro since its revival. First year, old pavement, Kyle Larson drove from the back, dominated, won that race. Last year, Joey Logano led all but one lap, I believe, to win that race. Not great. This year, pretty racy racetrack. Asphalt seems like it's coming in pretty well, wearing out pretty well so far. I'm excited to see what it looks like in like 2 to 3 years from now. I think with a full 36 car field out there, it could probably be even better than it was. People were talking about putting this race in the afternoon, letting them slip and slide around. All right, I'm fine with that too. Bring back the Holly Farms 400. Okay, yeah, I'm in. I think that maybe it should host a points paying race. Now, the problem is, where do you take that points paying date from on the SMI portion of the schedule? You've got a race down at Circuit of the Americas. Obviously, NASCAR wants to keep going to Austin. That is a date that SMI pays COTA to have, basically. They rent out the facility from COTA. They put on the race there. They obviously took that second date from Texas and put it there. Maybe that's something, if they want to get rid of COTA in the future, they can move that date over there. Atlanta has 2 races, but it's racing the best out of all the super speedways. They're not going to take a date away from that. They have Dover. They have Nashville. Both of those are 1 dates. Both of those serve markets that are pretty Dover's underutilized for the most part. Nashville, it's in a city where NASCAR absolutely wants to be. It's in the vicinity of a city that NASCAR wants to be. It's not actually that close to Nashville at all, not like the fairgrounds is. Then you have, of course, like Las Vegas has 2 dates. Sonoma has a date. That's not going to lose one over there. New Hampshire has a date. Not going to lose one of its dates either. Charlotte's got 2 dates. Not going to lose there. Bristol has 2 dates there, but Bristol Spring Race people are like, oh, it's only half full. Half full is still 70,000 people, and that's double what you can put at North Wilkesboro. From a ticket standpoint, it makes sense business-wise to keep it at Bristol. I don't know where you get a date from in this situation. It'll be interesting. And then what do you do with the All-Star race? Does the All-Star race, move to a place like Rockingham? Does it go back to Charlotte? Personally, I don't want it to go back to Charlotte. I think this race needs to move around. I think it needs to be a bit of a grassroots race. I think you need to go to some smaller tracks across the country and put on like a big show in small towns everywhere. Like, yeah, it's going to be a logistic problem at times, but I think it's worth doing that because we've seen these shorter tracks, put on pretty good shows and fans come out for it, and it revitalizes it, rejuvenates the town for this racetrack and everything like that. So I'd really like to see that happen going forward. But yeah, I think it's a track that deserves to have a points paying date. The question just remains, where does that date come from? NASCAR, ISC, they're not giving up any of their dates there. You have a couple independent tracks on the schedule, like an Indianapolis, a Pocono, stuff like that. I don't see the dates coming from one of those guys either. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with North Wilkesboro going forward. I know they're selling tickets for the All-Star race. You can, renew your tickets already for it. I think it's a track that probably deserves a date going forward. So we'll see how all that plays out. So let me know in the comments what you thought about the All-Star race. Joey Logano being upset. Does North Wilkesboro deserve a points paying date? Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok @BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook @BreakHardBlog.